Good morning. Thanks for coming to this very important meeting. We are at the amazing Franco's Health Club and Spa in beautiful Mandeville, Louisiana, and we're going to do some yoga therapy today. So, if you know me, if you've come to my classes before, you know this is very customizable. Do whatever feels right for you. I may say things that don't necessarily work for what is going on in your body today. Explore. Explore how your body is positioned. And we're going to have a good time, and we're going to feel so good once we're done. By the way, my name is Laurie, and I'm so glad that you're here today. So go ahead and get a mat. If you have a yoga block, get your yoga block. If you don't, you just need like a couple of books maybe that you can stack up, or maybe a little stool. And maybe we won't use it, maybe you won't use it, but just in case, I like to have that stuff. So we're going to just go ahead and start right now. You can sit up straight, you can lie down to begin, whatever works for you. And we're just going to close our eyes. And just for about 2 or 3 breaths, we're going to notice the length of our inhales and exhales. Don't worry about making them longer or shorter right now. We're just breathing. As you start to become aware and focus on your breath, I want you to start thinking of breathing all the way from below your belly button to the top of your head. Inhale. Exhale, press all the way down to the floor. So just close your eyes. We want to make our inhales long and our exhales longer. So at the end of your exhale, when you think you're done, push out just a little bit more, pull the belly in tight. At the end of your inhale, when you think you're done, take another sip of air and just enjoy. So normally when we breathe, it's very shallow when we're not really focusing on it. Let's breathe really big, and instead of just feeling it in the front of the body, feel it in the shoulders, feel it in the back. Fill up your entire body with your breath. Your body will love it, I promise. So if you're lying down, enjoy that, because it won't be lasting too long. If you're sitting up straight, lift up through the top of your head like you're being pulled up by a few hairs. We're going to roll the shoulders back like we just put on a really heavy backpack, and we're going to bring the shoulder blades closer together. So your shoulder blades are kind of shaped like this. Try and pull the bottom edges of your shoulder blades together and then press them down to the floor. So the chest opens wide, shoulders open wide. So what I'm hearing from you is that you've been doing a lot of painting and a lot of gardening and a lot of watching movies. So normally the front side of the body is very tight. And if you know me, you know I'm all about strengthening the back and opening up through the front. So as we pull the shoulder blades together, open the chest wide, the front of the body gets a release, and the back of the body starts to use its strength. If you're sitting, make sure you're pressing into both of your sit bones as equally as you can. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, kind of shift your weight. And you might notice one side is really pushing in to the floor harder than the other, and then we just want to find the middle ground. Push your breastbone straight forward and then rotate it slightly up. By the way, we're still breathing. Yes, we are. All right, so if you're sitting, change the cross of your legs. Let's try and be very balanced from left to right, from front to back, and across the diagonals for this next hour. So realign everything. The sit bones are both pressing down. The shoulders are rolling back. The breastbone is not only pressing forward, but tilts slightly up, and the shoulder blades pull together. Top of the head is lifting. So if you are lying down, go ahead and sit up, and we're going to get moving. Imagine that now you're not breathing into the front of the body at all. We're just breathing into the back. So pull your belly in tight. The shoulders stay open, but we're going to keep the belly tight. As we inhale, we're going to fill up our lower back. Now you can keep that breath right there in the lower back, or you can start to let it go up into the ribs, into the backs of the shoulders. Let's do one more big one like that. Now we want to remind you, do what works for you. What used to work for me does not work anymore in some cases. So explore how your positioning is and you will find a good spot. Don't go by, oh, she's doing that and I need to do that. You don't have to. So let's open the arms really wide. Turn your palms up. And look, if your palms are facing forward, drop the thumbs way back and try and reach your arms together in the back. Big breath in. And we're going right into eagle arms. So one elbow comes on top of the other. We wind the arms together. And we're going to push the elbows into each other. So the top one pushes down, the bottom one pushes up. Sit up really strong. Now swing your elbows to the wall in front of you. Lift up a little bit, but keep the pressure in the elbows. Breathe. So this is for all my painters and my gardeners. This one's for you. One more big breath. Now we're going to come out slow with an inhale. Big, huge inhale. Open wide. Reach your thumbs way back there and then switch. Exhale. So the other elbow goes on top. We wind the arms together. We lift up through the arms and send the elbows forward to the wall in front of you. Just a reminder, if you need to be sitting in a chair and not on the floor, go for it. Do whatever works for you. This is your therapy. This is not your workout today, it's your therapy. Breathe. And come out slow with an inhale, real slow, open wide. Oh my gosh. If you normally come to my class, act as though we're together now and let me hear you go, oh, because you know that's what I love. All right, let's send one leg out and keep one leg in. Now, some of us need our straight leg straight forward. Some of us can go way wide. And I say some of us, some of you, not this us. Go where it feels comfortable. Go where you can still press down into both of your sit bones and sit up really strong. So it's like we have a zipper and we zip all the way up, roll the shoulders back. Okay, rule number one, and maybe there's only one rule. Don't drop your head. Keep your chest up, keep your neck long. Don't drop your chin. So here we go, big inhale. And we're just gonna tip forward. We're really straight from the top of the head to the sit bones. We're really straight, so you can have your hands down. If you have your block or your stool, you can have your hands here. You can have your hands on the floor, hands on the thigh, whatever works for you to keep straight through the spine. Now I'm going to tell you how I'm cheating and how I need to catch myself. I started shifting all of my weight to the bent knee, which is not what I want to do. I want to keep weight into both sit bones. So if you did that too, reassess, rebalance, and we're just going to tip forward. The foot needs to be, the toes need to be pointing up of the straight leg. So the toes are going to indicate if you went too far or not. If your toes start rolling forward, you went too far, tighten up your butt. If your toes start rolling back, you went too far, tighten up your inner thigh. So we're not just kind of rubbery here, we're being really stiff and solid. And maybe you're feeling this in your lower back, maybe you're feeling it in your shoulders, maybe your inner thigh. Everybody's going to feel it in their own way. your rib cage and drive it forward. Take your shoulders and drive them back. Take your mouth and go, ah. One more big breath. All right, so now we're gonna reach over to the straight leg. I like to either put my elbow on the thigh, or if your flexibility allows, put your elbow in front of the thigh. You can have your block wherever you need it to be. So we can either have the elbow down or we can reach. And we're gonna lift the chest straight up. So your rib cage comes up, and then that free arm goes up and over. Now, if it works for you, and if this is the only way that it works for you to reach overhead, that's okay. But we want to try and get this long stretch from the armpit to the hip. So if you can, reach your arm back to the wall behind you and roll your chest even more up to the ceiling. Again, don't drop your head. One more big breath. Try and reach the top of your head as far away from your hip as you can. And come up. Woo! Oh yeah. Switch legs. So one side is probably more flexible than the other. That's just totally normal. Toes are straight up, shoulders back. Get your block if you need to, and we're just going to drive the rib cage forward. So again, we're not dropping the head. Can't let you do it. And again, I just cheated. So I want to square my weight over both legs, but especially the straight leg. I know all the cheats, by the way. I know if you're cheating. I may not call you out, though. So the rib cage is driving forward. The breastbone is driving forward. Shoulders back. One more big one. This is going to be good. Just wait. So either the elbow on the thigh or the floor or the hand to the foot, wherever you want to reach. And we're going to come chest up, and we come up and over. So I'm not hanging my head like this, and neither are you. I know. Keep your neck really long. Turn your entire chest up if you can. Take this arm and reach it back behind you. And if you can see, I'm pushing my elbow into my thigh. I'm using a little bit of leverage to go deeper. So for those of you who told me you have lower back stuff that you want to work on, this is an awesome, awesome thing for lower back. This is hitting a really deep muscle in the lower back that's hard to get to. Take one more big breath. And come up. And let's just take inventory again. So we'll sit up straight. Oh man, if I just got taller, thank you, yoga. Lift up through the chest, shoulders pull back. Let's start to just let the head go where it feels good for the neck to get a stretch. All the gardening and home renovations you've been doing, this ought to help. Now I do want to say, when you drop your head down, don't let the entire upper body curl forward. Keep the shoulders back. And if you want to add a little pressure to the head, you can start to press it down. Again, going where it feels right for you to go, not where I'm going, but where you need to go. Oh, that's tight. think we're ready for a beautiful twist. So, let's lie down. Hug your knees up into your chest. Now this is a great lower back stretch, but if your lower back is hurting because the front of your body has gotten so tight, this is not going to be your best bet. A side stretch and a twist might be exactly what you need. All right, dead bug pose. Grab onto the soles of the feet. Push your hands into your feet hard. Push your feet into your hands hard. The knees will be a little wider than the chest. And we're going to push our feet like we're trying to step on the ceiling. Don't forget to breathe. Release. Knees together. Open the arms wide. Just start to rock side to side and see what side feels better in this twist. So the knees come down toward the floor. Now notice I'm keeping both of my shoulders on the floor. And if you can't do that, don't beat yourself up about it, but just try and get the opposite shoulder on the floor. So let's go all the way over to one side. If you can, roll a little farther so the hip is on top of the other hip. Push the opposite shoulder into the floor. Take your hand on your thigh and just press them straight down to the floor. Now we can look in the opposite direction. Whatever hip is on top, okay, we're going to take that sit bone and drive it down away from its waist. And that's just a little bonus for you to go slightly deeper. Breathe. One more big one. Now to come up, inhale. Switch sides as you exhale. So if you can, hip over hip, opposite shoulder on the floor, press into the thighs, and take the sit bone of the top hip and drive it down away from its waist. And we look in the opposite direction of the knees. This is an awesome thing to do before you get out of bed in the morning, just a nice twist, and even before you go to sleep at night. It's a nice equalizer for the spine. It brings the spine back into neutrality, and it feels so good. Make sure you're breathing. One more. Release and come out with an inhale. If you need to hug your knees back in or do dead bug pose again, go for it. So I'm already starting to feel so much better. Are you? I hope you are, because let me tell you, quarantine stiffness is a real thing. All right, let's come all the way up. Now we're going to come up onto hands and knees. So this is for you, Heather P., who's telling me that she has shin splints that are so painful. This is an awesome inner thigh stretch, shin splint stretch, calf stretch, shin stretch, and we're also going to get a little bit into the core. So your hands go right below the shoulders. Your knees go right below your hips. And let's just real quick do a cat and a cow. So cat is when you lift up your chest, and that's an exhale. The cow is when you lift up your chest and your hips. So most of you know what's about to come, and you're going to love it. Let's step our left foot out to the side. So first things first, line up your knee with your arch. That's proper positioning. Then send your heel out a little wider. okay? You have to keep your foot flat on the floor. If your foot starts to roll up onto your arch, you might have stepped it out too far. Push into the outside edge of your foot. Now we're going to shift the hips, woo, to the right. And hopefully you just got a big old, oh man. Now look, I'm tightening up my shoulders because I feel it down there. Relax your shoulders, press your chest forward. You can also do this on your elbows. You can use your block or your books or whatever you have. So we've shifted our hips to the right. We're going to take our left inner thigh and try and press it down to the floor. The foot stays flat. Again, don't drop your head. So probably by now your left thigh just turned off. Tighten it up. Pull the muscle up toward the hip. And we're just going to start to shift forward and back. And we all have our stopping points. And in my classes, I like to say we're pushing the boundaries and we're trying to look for the edge of woo, and then just back off of it. Oh man. So next time you go to the spot that it's just almost unbearable, hold it for one breath. Woo! And then reverse it, go to the opposite side for one breath. Reverse. So still the foot stays flat. I know you want to roll up onto your arch, but don't let it happen. And then reverse. And then come back up. So now we had swung the heel out. We're gonna bring the heel straight back, or whatever works for you. We're gonna have our right hand on the floor. Now, if you have very flexible shoulders, you're gonna step your right hand over to the side so you can go a little deeper. The idea is we wanna free up the right shoulder. So if when you go up, you start to contract, you need to step it wider. All right, so the left hand reaches up, straight up toward the ceiling. Look up unless that bothers your neck. And then lengthen through the right shoulder like you're pushing the floor away. And we can take that hand farther back. I'm gonna step out a little wider because I feel the shoulder starting to crunch up. Now, depending on your flexibility, you can kind of arch back. You can start to push your hips forward. Don't forget to breathe right here. It's kind of important. One more. And come all the way down. Child's pose. Bring both knees down. Sit your hips back toward your heels. Chest comes down. You have tons of options in child's pose. You can have arms forward. You can have arms back. You can have arms on your back. You can lengthen. Do whatever works for you. And let's do the other side. So we come up into this table pose. Hands below the shoulders, knees below the hips. We're going to step the right foot out to the side. We line up from the knee to the arch. And then we send the heel, woo! We send the heel even wider. So remember, you can be on your elbows, or you can be on your hands or on your blocks, whatever. I'm feeling super intensity. Bam, right there. Right here. That's what happens when we swing the heel out. Are you watching this, Heather Patterson? This is specifically for you. All right, so swing your hips now to the left. We're going to take the right inner thigh and drive it down to the floor. Man, oh man, don't forget to breathe. And we can start to move forward and back. Now, if you can't reach your phone right now, don't do this. But if you can reach your phone, I need a heart in this moment because I'll feel it. So about now, the thigh has turned off. Tighten it up. Pull the muscle into the body. Gets a little deeper. All right, now we're pushing the boundaries. We're going in one direction. Hold it for a breath. And then reverse. Hold it for one big breath. Reverse. Reverse. Oh my. All right, let's come up. Instead of having your heel out, pull it in a little bit so that at least it's straight. Now the left hand is going to stay down this time. Again, if your shoulders are more flexible, step it out to the side. Right hand reaches. We're going to watch it as it goes up. And when you feel like you can, if you can, drop it back a little farther. Maybe press your hips forward. And breathe. Don't drop the neck or the head, One more big one. Woo! Come all the way down. Child's pose. So get your block or your stool or your stack of books, whatever you can. We need to have something a little higher than the floor that we can push into. So we're going to start like in a little mini child's pose. We're going to have our hand on the block or whatever. And look, have your wrists totally straight. Don't do this with your wrist. I want it to be totally straight because we're going to push like we're trying to smash this thing into the floor. Push it straight down and pull your hips back. So you will feel a wonderful stretch from the armpit all the way up through the fingers. From the armpit down to the hips. Now try and take that armpit and press it toward the floor. Holy. Breathe here. When you're ready, switch sides. That is a beautiful lat stretch. A nice long stretch for the side. It goes all over. So we're smashing that thing into the floor. We're pulling our hips back. We're driving the armpit toward the floor. Keep your wrists straight. Find your breath. Try and lengthen from the armpit to the fingertips, and then from the armpit to the hips. One more big one. And release. Ho, ho, ho. All right, so if you have your blocks or whatever you're using, you want to put them toward the front of your mat. But let's just, you can stand up or you can stay on your knees. We're going to bring the arms back behind us. Squeeze your palms together. Rule number one in this pose is the palms are touching. You know who you are. So the palms are touching, and look. If they're touching, start to lift. If they're just barely touching, don't lift. Just stay right where you are. Tighten up your butt. Push your hips forward. Roll your shoulders back, and just look up a little bit. So the shoulder blades are squeezing together right here. Big breath. And release, shake it out. Who's down, dog? It's time. It's time. We've made it. So down dog. We lift the hips up, curl your toes under. Lift your hips up and press back. So while you're here, the shoulder blades press out now toward the armpits. So before I was telling you to squeeze them in together, press them out. Tighten up the fronts of the thighs and lift your hips a little higher, even if you need to come up onto your toes. Now take your backside and push it to the wall behind you, but don't lose any of those other ideas with the armpits pressing wide and the shoulder blades pressing wide and the hips are still lifting up as they're pulling back. Now you can stretch one calf at a time by bending one knee and pressing that heel into the floor. Whew. I wonder who feels this. I feel this. Are we ready? Cousin It says, are you ready? All right, so tighten up your belly. We're going to step the left foot forward into a lunge. Now, it takes some core strength to do that. So tighten up your belly, look between your hands, step your left foot through. If it won't go through, you can come onto your knees and step that left foot through. Now, if you have your blocks, one on either side, and keep them tall. So I have my back knee down. You don't need to have your back knee down. You could be lifted off the knee. You could also be way up here. The front knee is bent. The left knee is bent. So let's start to make sure that we can lift up the toes and push into the left heel. I guess you can't see that. So if I had my heel off the floor, which none of you do, my kneecap could be thrown off of its course. We don't want that. Push hard into your heel like you're really trying to drive down through the floor. If your back knee is down, slide it to the back. If you're off the back knee, you're pushing into the heel, the back heel. So let's just bring all of our weight forward into the front heel. And we're just going to kind of push the boundaries again. We're going to drive the hips forward and then release, just a few times. More than likely, you are tight here. It might feel like the left leg is getting it all, but I want you to start noticing the right hip flexor and in the top of the thigh, okay? And we get that by using the back leg to drive into the floor, whether you're on the knee or off the knee. We're driving the hip forward. So the right hip starts to slide forward, and the left hip just relaxes so that it can push back. So come with me, we're going to visualize a bunch of stuff. We're going to drop the hips to the floor, just picture it. Nothing's going to happen, just picture it. Start to tighten up the right side of the glutes, and really turn those cheeks into stone because we're going to need that to go deeper. One more big breath. Now, if this is enough for you, you can stay right here. If you want to go deeper, and by deeper I mean we're going to get deep into this hip flexor of the right leg. So if you're not ready, don't go any deeper. But if you are, either your hand or your elbow comes on the left thigh. And we're going to lift the chest, but drop the hips. So sometimes you can check yourself. If when you came up, your hips slid back, go back down. You're not ready for that. And don't take that in a bad way, but it's just your body's not ready to go that deep. So still, the right hip is pressing forward, the left hip is going back. Now, if we want to go deeper, we would take the hand and reach up. And this is a deep stretch through this arch. right butt is tight. Yeah? Ooh. One more big breath. Drive the hips forward and come all the way down. Oh. Now we're going to hit into the hamstring of the left leg. So if you have your blocks, you can use that. If not, you don't need to. We're going to attach our chest and our left thigh, and they never come apart now. So it's like we're on a track. We're going to start to drive straight back, and don't veer left or right. And then once you can't go any farther, go back to the front. So you have to notice, and only you will know, if when you go in a direction you kind of stick your butt out or you swing your hip, you went too far. Just stay right on the track going forward and back. The minute you start to veer, it changes what we're working on. Man. All right, now we're going to come to the inside of the leg. We're back to the front. Hands are down, either on the floor or the blocks or whatever. We're going to take the back leg. Now, hopefully, if you were not on the back knee before, you are now. And if you need cushioning, just double up your mat or something. We're going to take the hips straight forward by pushing hard into the left foot and really driving forward through the back hip. I know that you want to drop your head here, but don't. We need all the oxygen we can get right here. One more big breath. Ho, ho, ho. Now we're going to step back into down dog. Get there however you need to. I'm going to curl the toes under, and I'm going to step my left leg back if it still works. Take the hips farther back. Open the shoulder blades out wide. Find your breath. So if you need a quick little child's pose break to kind of reset, you can come down here. And by quick, I do mean quick because we're moving on. So we're going to step the right foot forward. Look between your hands. Either tighten up your belly to step through or come onto your knees to step through. So we were there for quite a while, as you know I like to do. So don't go as deep as you think you might go eventually, because we'll be here for a while. So find a position that works for you. You could be on the back knee, you could be off the back knee, you could be all the way up here. And all we're doing is driving the hips forward, and that's all we need to know. So we start to push into the front heel. A good test is if you lift up your toes, your heel is still down. Some people like to go on their toes, which is not acceptable in my world. We've got to push into the heel so that we're hitting all of the right angles, and we're not going to throw anything off of its natural course. Now, start to push hard into the front heel. If you're on the back knee, drive the back knee to the back of the mat. If you're off the back knee, drive the heel to the back of the mat. As we start to activate the big muscle groups, certain things will tighten and the opposite side will stretch. So if we tighten up our butt, left butt cheek, the left hip flexor will start to relax. Now hip flexors are tough and they don't stretch easily because they're angry. So we gotta tighten up the butt really hard. Push into the hip, drive the hips forward, and breathe. If you decide to hold your breath right now, just know you're going too deep. You've got to be able to take a deep, steady breath every pose you do, or else the muscles are going to revolt, because they know. The muscles know all. All right, so let's tighten up the left butt cheek. and start to drive the left hip forward. Now, because the left hip is going forward, the right hip will move back. If you're ready to go deep, and be honest with your body. If you're ready to go deep, either the elbow or the hand comes up on the right thigh. Now, if when you came up, the hip shifted back, even if it's just a little bit, go back down. And we can come all the way out. Now, I might look calm and serene, but deep inside my body, my left hip flexor is not. Breathe. Breathing makes all the difference. One more big breath. Keep driving the hips forward. Ooh, man. All right, come back down. Make adjustments if you need to. Attach your chest and your thigh. And now nothing can get in between them, and we're on a track. We're going straight back, straight forward. No veering left or right. So you might notice in yoga therapy, it's not how deep you can go, and it's not about necessarily the pose that we're doing. It's how is your body responding, and how can you hold your body and position your body in a way that it works longer past the mat. Once you get off the mat, are you going to feel good? Or did you overstretch? Take one more big breath. One more course. And we're back to the front. The left side of the butt has got to be strong. Bring your hands to the inside of the leg. Drive the left hip forward. You can come onto your elbows if you want. I'm not going to show you that option, but you can do that. Keep pushing into the right heel. The right heel and the back knee are our anchor points in this position. So everything is moving beyond from those 2 points. One more big breath. Oh, when you're ready, step back into down dog. So lift your hips higher. Press your hips way back behind you. And take a little child's pose break if you need it. Now in child's pose, I gave you all those options for your arms, but there's also options for your legs. So knees together or slightly apart. You could open your knees a good bit wider. Bring your big toes together to touch. Now one of my favorites, open your knees even wider than that. And this is not for the faint of heart, so don't do it if you're not ready. We're going to kick the feet out. You can do 1 foot at a time if you want. This is called frog. And it is super intense, but because we're listening to what our bodies need, we're either doing it or not doing it, you know? So how do you get out of here? I like to bring my feet together, come up onto my hands, and then bring my knees together. We're going back up into down dog just quickly, and we're going to swing our left leg up to the ceiling. So start in down dog, bring your big toes together. together so that they're close to touching or touching. Send the hips back, and we're going to bring our left leg up. Try and point your kneecap up to the ceiling. Now, usually when that happens, we kind of swing all of our weight onto the right, but try and square your weight over both hands, and then switch. See, we won't be here too long. Right knee up to the ceiling. Square the weight over your hands. Find your breath. And come down. Woo! Okay. Let's stretch the front of the thighs because we've been getting a lot in the hips and other parts. So we're going to do it really easy. We're going to lie down on our side. You can be on your elbow. You can be all the way down, whatever works. So straight line from the shoulder to the hip to the foot. Yeah? Take the top foot, grab on at the ankle, not the foot. And then not only do we want to bring our knees closer together, but we want to take the top hip and drive it forward. I don't know if you can see my foot. My foot is flexed. I'm going to turn backwards just for a second. So we flex the foot, and if we can push the foot into the hand, that's when the real activation happens. So push your foot into your hand, drive the knee straight down, drive the top hip forward, and what looks like a really simple stretch can be, woo, quite intense. Take a big breath. Switch sides when you're ready. So we want a straight line. We hold at the ankle, not the foot. We're driving the top hip forward and down all at once. We have the the top foot flexed, and we're pushing our foot into our hand. So activation, if you just kind of grab onto your leg like this, you might be getting a stretch. But once you activate the quad, which is what we're stretching, quads, then we can really go deep here. Because if the muscle is activated and you're trying to stretch it at the same time, that's a whole different kind of stretch. It's called an eccentric stretch. And it's deep and it's lasting because we're changing the muscle fibers. We're actually driving this memory into the muscle fibers, which is awesome. Take one more big breath. And release. All right, lie down on your back. Guess what time it is? Shavasana, Shavasana. So, if you need to get a little blanket, if you need to get something to cover up your eyes, you don't want to look at this the whole time. Go ahead and get those quickly. We're going to start with the knees pulled up into the chest. If you have a little block or a couple of books that you can use, I'm going to show you an option. But for now, we're just lying down. Hug your knees up into your chest. We're going to take a really quick twist, just like we did before. Drop the knees to one side. Line up hip over hip. Take the top hip and press the sit bone away from the waist. Breathe. And then switch. We don't need to go too deep because we've already done this. Or too long, I should say. Take the sit bone away from the waist. Come back up. You know what else you can get if you have a foam roller? I'll give you an option with that. So here's a a few options for you. Now, the big option is you can just lie down like this. And that's all you need to do. Okay? Some of you have very tight shoulders. So your option, if you have a block, you're going to put the skinny side in between your shoulder blades along your spine. Now sometimes it can get really intense, and this one you can also put your foam roller along your spine. So you may not want to stay like this for too long, and you might need to put something under your head if that's not comfortable. But this is called a chest opener. You can have arms out. You can have your arms behind your head and press the elbows, and what an amazing opening. And yes, your chest is tight. I don't care who you are, your chest is tight. Another option is you can take a pillow or a block or your books and put it right under your glutes. And by that I mean your butt cheeks. It should not be under your lower back. And this is a really nice passive hip flexor stretch. Again, you don't want to stay here too long because it might get intense. But those are your two options that I'm going to let you try them out. If you have a different option you'd rather, do that. But we're all going to turn our palms up. We're going to try and position ourselves so the front of the body is very open. So your shoulders are really wide. If your legs want to spin out to the sides, let them go. If you needed to keep your knees bent or bring your feet together, let your knees open wide, do whatever works for you. All of the stretching that we've done in the last 50 minutes is for this, okay? So be here now. Breathe into the stillness that you've created by stretching. Do a quick scan through your body from feet to head and see if there's anything you're still holding on to tension there. Release it. Send your breath right to that area and just allow it to release. Picture your muscles just dripping off of your bones, so relaxed. Allow your breath to go deeper and deeper, filling up your body with each inhale. If you still have some sort of prop underneath you, go ahead and remove it. Let's just lie flat on the floor for about 25 seconds. I know that you have removed blockages and obstacles that were keeping you from feeling amazing. And now the energy is able to flow freely. Let's take a huge inhale and blow it out hard. Do it again. Inhale and try and fill up your entire body. Exhale, blow it out until your belly gets tight. Start to wiggle your fingers and your toes. You can rotate your wrists and ankles. You can turn your head side to side. Now, at the end of my classes, I like to send subtle signals to the brain and the nervous system. So we touch the first finger to the thumb, and then we start walking back and forth along the fingertips. We're using the little nerve endings in the fingertips to send this subtle message. It's almost time to get up. Now, a little bit less of a subtle message. Rub your hands and the soles of your feet together vigorously. Make some heat. Let's do it for about 10 seconds. Now, if you're just going to take a nap, roll onto your right side. If you got things to do, roll to your left side. Let all of the fluids in your body rush to the left or right side, depending on what you're doing. And when you're ready to come up, roll to the opposite side for just a quick inhale and come up. So let's sit up nice and strong. Palms face up. Lengthen through your spine. You just did yourself a world of good. You know you do. So set your intention for the rest of the day, for the rest of the week, for the rest of the quarantine. We are strong. We are healthy. And we are so lucky to have Franco and yoga therapy. Hands to prayer pose, chin toward your chest. Let me bow to you. I had a good time. I hope you had a good time. Namaste. Thanks for coming, y'all.